Hello friends, myself Dr. Satish Jadhav, Vice Principal, ADPM's Women's College, Jalgaon. Today I am presenting a short micro teaching on disaster management. It's a part of refresher course on disaster management organized by HRDC, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. Let us first look at introduction of disaster management. Disasters are as old as mankind. The first description of disaster and its management comes from mythological Noah and his ark. Similar flood tales are widespread in Greek mythology, Puranas, many stories and many cultures. Now, definitions of disasters. Disasters means any occurrence that causes damages, ecological disruption, loss of human life, deterioration of health and health services on a scale sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response from outside that affected community or area. This definition is given by WHO. Then next definition is given by American Red Cross Society, and according to Red Cross Society, a disaster can be defined as an occurrence either nature or man-made that causes human suffering and creates human needs where victims can't elevate without assistance. Now look at some definitions of hazards. Hazard and phenomena that has the potential to cause disruption or damage to people and their environment. When hazard involves elements of risk, vulnerabilities and capacities, they can turn into disasters. Hazards may be inevitable, but disaster can be prevented. Now look at the types of the disasters. Disasters may be grouped mainly in two. One is natural disasters and second one is man-made disasters. Man-made disaster includes floods, cyclone, drought, earthquake, cold waves, heat waves, mudslides, storms, etc. And man-made disaster includes setting of fires, deforestation, chemical pollution, wars, road accidents, train accidents, riots, food poisoning, industrial disasters, environmental pollutions, and so on. Now, to understand the disaster management, the body of policy and administrative decisions and operational activities that pertain to various stages of disaster at all levels encompasses all aspects of planning for and responding to disaster, including both pre and post disaster activities. What is the aims of disaster management? An applied science which seeks systematic observations and analysis of disasters to improve measures relating to prevention, emergency response, recovery, and mitigation. It's a continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, and implementing measures which are necessary for prevention of danger or threat by any disaster, reduction of risk of any disasters or its severity or consequences, preparedness to deal with any disaster, prompt response to any threatening disaster situation, assessing the severity or magnitude of effects by any disaster, evacuation, rescue and relief, rehabilitation and reconstruction. Now have a quick look on integrated disaster management. It includes preparedness, preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. Mitigation includes activities that reduces effects of disasters, building code and zoning, vulnerability analysis, public education, etc. Preparedness includes activities prior to a disaster, preparedness plans, emergency exercises, training, warning system. Then response. In response activities during a disaster, public warning system, emergency operations, search and rescue. In recovery related activities, a temporary housing, claim processing, grants and medical care. These all are activities which are related to integrated disaster management process. Now look at the phases of disaster management: disaster preparedness, disaster impact, disaster response, disaster recovery, and last one is disaster mitigation. Disaster preparedness includes it is considered is an ongoing multi-sectoral activity, and it is an integral part of the national system responsible for developing plans and programs for disaster management, prevention, mitigation, response, rehabilitation and reconstruction. It also includes evaluation of the risk, adopt standard and regulations, organize communication and response mechanism, ensure all resources ready and easily mobilized, develop public education programs, coordinate information with new media, disaster simulation exercises. In medical preparedness, developing and capacity building of medical team for trauma and psychosocial care, mass casualty management and triage. Determine casualty handling capacity of all hospitals, formulate appropriate treatment procedures, involvement of private hospitals, identify structural integrity and approach routes. In disaster response, immediate reaction to disaster as the disaster is anticipated or soon after it begins, in order to assess the needs, reduce the suffering, limit the spread and consequences of the disaster, open up the way to rehabilitation by mass evacuation, search and rescue, emergency medical services, securing food and water, maintenance of law and order. Disaster impact and responses. It includes search, rescue and first aid, field care, triage, tagging, identification of deaths, etc. Medical and public responses, food safety and water safety, animal control, carcasses can foul water, zoonotic diseases, vector control, mosquito and rodents. Communicable diseases control like measles, diarrheal diseases, ARI and malaria. Breakdown in environmental safeguards, crowding of persons in camps, malnutrition, and there is also a need of waste management, temporary latrines, chemical toileting, sewage disposal management, etc. Now look at the consequences of disasters on health. Number A is physical, injuries, disabilities, coma, death, etc. And B is psychological, cognitive, behavioral, social. Structural damages to variable extent, ecological changes in ecosystem, economical, financial losses.